My name's Kara. This story takes place in Tucson, Arizona, where I am currently living. Me and my husband decided we wanted to have a nice night under the stars. So we decided to take a drive up to a lookout that was well known by couples around our area as a good makeout spot. We headed up. Once we reached the lookout, we parked, and as close as we could get, we got out and laid on the hood of the car. My husband, commenting on how dark it was, also enjoyed the relaxation and the quiet of the night. This was something that made us happy because it made the stars that were out even more pronounced. We were enjoying the stars when I noticed a light across the way beyond the canyon on the other side. It was yellowish orange and it was round like a ball, baseball sized from where we were sitting. I decided to get a better look, so I sat up and I squinted as hard as I could to try and look closer. The ball of light would rise up like it was going to ascend into the air, but then it would stop abruptly and start to fall back down, slowly, fading out in the process until it was no more. Then, within seconds, it would light back up where it fell and repeat the same process. Me and my husband watched this for about 5 minutes. Then, out of nowhere, at about the same time, we both got this overwhelming feeling of fear and dread. I'm a small female who grew up on the island of Kauai. Spirits and ghosts are a regular thing there, so you get used to it. But I've never felt fear like this. It felt like anger, like we weren't supposed to be there. My husband looked at me, and I him, at the same time saying, "Let's go." We jumped in our car and took off, all the while still terrified. After we cleared the path to the mountain, the feeling subsided, but the goosebumps remain to this day. We have never gone back there, and we don't plan on it. I would just like to clarify that I'm a little skeptical of the paranormal, but this experience just took a weird turn. I often play with tarot cards, pendulums, and a spirit box from time to time, but I don't do full-on investigations professionally, so bear in mind I had no idea what I was doing. So my friend invited me over to her house to chill and talk about life. She doesn't believe in ghosts at all, but admits she's afraid of the idea of them. I brought my tarot cards to mess around with them, which I think I'm addicted to them, along with my computer. After messing around a while on her TV, I showed her the cards and we decided to just do a simple session of both major and minor arcana, where cards are played out in 3 segments: past, present, and future. This session basically didn't end well. The vibe in the room became quite uncomfortable and strange. She didn't have bad cards at all. In fact, they were pretty good. Her past was on point, her present was okay, and her future ended very well. But she said to me that she felt really uncomfortable, like she was being watched. My heart dropped at that point because I was experiencing the exact feeling. We kind of brushed it off and joked around for a bit after, but I couldn't resist the temptation and decided to pop out my computer. I basically did a spirit box session through an application while it's plugged into her mini amplifier. She really didn't want to do it, but I told her it won't be bad. It was quite unclear what they were saying most of the time. However, Mark and Ryan seemed to come up a lot. The most frightening thing was the fact that the spirit box literally said, "Stop Tarot," and later said, "Card Strength," which was literally one of my friend's present cards. My friend got really scared at this point, so we switched it off immediately. I treated them with respect, asking them questions in a polite mannerism, and ended the spirit box session by politely saying goodbye. We screwed around for a while, and I eventually went home. The next morning, I received a call from my friend, who seemed a bit shaken up. Apparently, all of last night she felt as though someone was watching her, or was creeping up on her, even stating that, almost trying to touch her. I need answers. Too many questions such as, can spirits really communicate stuff from tarot sessions? Can they feel energy from the sessions, or do tarot sessions disturb them? I have never had a spirit box session talk about a tarot reading, and to be honest, I am getting very curious about this paranormal situation. Is it dangerous to look and investigate further? Okay, so I'm 21 now. This story happened when I was 16. I had a boyfriend. His name was Noah. We started dating when we were both 16. We were happy, healthy, and in a great relationship. My birthday was a few days before his, 6 to be exact. It was the summertime, so neither of us had school. I was home alone on my 17th birthday. Being the summer, everybody had work except me. Around lunchtime, Noah came over to my house with flowers and a card. He stayed for a few hours and then left. Nothing was out of the ordinary. I haven't talked to him at all the next 2 days. I tried to call him, text him, even reach him through social media. I grew a little concerned, but I told myself that he's probably just out somewhere where there's no phone service or Wi-Fi. That part didn't make much sense, but I tried to ignore it and go on. Another day went by. Still, no answer. The day before his birthday, I had it with him. I hopped in my car and drove over to his house. It was only his mother home. I asked her where he had been the past few days. She told me that he was gone with a bunch of his friends, about an hour out from where they lived. I was so enraged with him I didn't care about his birthday anymore. I went home that night to find a note in the bottom of my dresser drawer. One that I didn't open much. I pulled it out and was really confused. I don't remember why I would have put a folded up piece of paper in my drawer. I was a little nervous to open it at first, so I set it on my desk and forgot about it. The next day was my boyfriend's birthday. I felt bad for not caring as much, but he was ignoring me, so he kinda deserved it. I remembered the note that I found and FaceTimed my best friend at the time. I was very skeptical about what it was. I opened it up, and the first thing I saw was Noah's signature at the bottom. He must have snuck it in here on my birthday, I said to my friend. I read the first sentence and bursted into tears. It said, "I'm so sorry I had to leave like this. I couldn't take everything." It was then that I realized that this was a suicide note. I called Noah's mother, sobbing even louder. I read the note to her and hung up the phone. Ever since then, I have had windows smashed in front of my eyes, doors slammed, and voices heard when no one's around. Nobody knows why he killed himself, or how, or where. Hello. I want to talk about something that happened to me when I was younger, and I hope someone could help me make sense of this. Now, I'm not a very religious or supernatural believing person, and I do think that everything can be explained through science, but this was a little out of my understanding. When I was 14, I was staying with my sister. She would often leave me home alone, and her ex-husband would come home before her, so I had to open the door. Since they only had one set of keys at the time, I would stay up on my laptop until he came home. One night, I forgot to lock the door, and the bastard scared me, so I made sure to lock the door properly. We were living in a garage in LA by Watts, and one night I was on my laptop in the dark, when a bright ball of light, about 1/3 the size of the door, flashed in front of my face. I could look straight at it and be fine. It's not like when the sun hits your eyes, but this was different. Think it was my sister's ex-husband. I told him to turn off the flashlight. The light stayed and shined bright in my face for a good 10 seconds before I started taking off my headset. The light did a figure 8 kind of motion and moved out of the door's threshold out of my view. I gave chase only to find that the door, locked and chained, were still closed. Had it only been a lock, I would have guessed it was him. However, the chain can only be locked from the inside. This was a relatively small place, and I remembered every little detail of it. I checked everything from the bathroom to the kitchen. Nothing could have been hiding there, because everything was visible from the threshold of the room. The first thing I did notice was the weird light itself. Everything around it turned black, like it was absorbing the light. Normally I could see past the door into the kitchen, but I couldn't see anything past the threshold where it was floating. The second thing I noticed was the lack of sound. I normally keep my computer on a high volume, and I could hear sound coming from my headset, but in this case, I couldn't hear anything. I then turned all the lights on in the place, scared out of my mind. I tried putting some kind of logic to it. Maybe lack of sleep caused a hallucination, or the light was just afterlight from my laptop. I thought to myself, that could be the case, but it wasn't. The afterlight you see stays in the shape of the light source, and I have never in my years in staying up late have experienced any kind of hallucinations at all. No auditory or visual problems. One thought was ball of lightning. I was way off with that theory. If anyone has experienced this too, I'd like to know. Since then, I have looked into supernatural lore and found two things fitting the description: angel orbs and some ghost orbs. It is possible that I am picking up on something. Please, let me know. This was a while ago, but it still freaks me out. My room had a closet door that would literally never close, and the doorknob was broken, but if you turned it the right way, it would stay shut. I could never sleep with it open. At the time, my sister had lived with me, and she would get extremely angry because it would take me forever to close it. This night in particular, I remember clear as day. It was around 10, and I was getting ready to go to bed, and of course, I had to shut the closet door. It took me like 10 minutes, and it was shut for sure. I knew for a fact. I pulled the door to see if it would open, and it did not. At the time, I slept on the floor because we had just moved, and I didn't have my bed yet. It was around 3 a.m. in the morning, and I immediately looked at the closet door, and the door was wide open. I saw a girl in the corner of the closet where the clothes weren't hanging. She had long black hair and was wearing a black dress. I freaked out and I hid under my blanket. I tried to call my sister's name, but I was too scared to even speak. I ended up getting the words out of my mouth, and I said, "Ash, there's something in the closet. Please turn on the light." She said nothing was there and that I was stupid and should go back to bed. But I was persistent on the fact that there was someone fucking standing in our closet. So I jumped up and turned the light on. I looked inside to make sure there was really someone there. I looked where she was standing, and there was no way that any of the clothes could have looked like that. There was no clothes where she was standing. I've never seen her since, but it still scares me. Just to add a little extra, I was on You Now, just messing around with some random person, when they said, "Who's in your closet?" Immediately, I shit my pants because of the ghost I saw once. Then he said, "I see a hand." I turned and saw nothing and ended the chat. I didn't sleep in my room for the next 3 months. Black magic. So I never really believed in magic or black magic. Heck, I don't know if I do now, but here's my encounter. Background. Me, my younger sister, mom and dad, moved into my uncle's old house after they had moved to a nicer house in order to save the contract on it for the remaining year. It was very small, quiet, and lots of trees in the neighborhood. There were about 10 to 15 houses lined up in our side of the street, with only about 3 or 4 actually occupied. Very strange to me as they were very large, new houses for a great price. I found out why there was little to no one there after we moved. So, I remember my room specifically. All the houses on the street were designed the same, keep this in mind. It was where the most activity was at. A few encounters to share. My TV and MacBook usually plays religious recordings at night to help us sleep peacefully, had often turned themselves on and off or played the static when you turn the TV on the wrong HDMI. My bathroom, specifically, was fucking freezing, and almost everything was broken in there. My stack of 6 candles had fell off of my shelf out of nowhere, all of them smashing. Books from our bookshelf found in random-ass places, dark shadows outside our garden, PlayStation controllers flashing really weird colors. The controller stand had jolted itself towards the only open window downstairs. My cats being hyper and loud as hell. They are very old and inactive usually. Guests and friends feeling very uncomfortable. So, 2 weeks of this shit go on. So my dad calls a sheikh to come to our house. By the way, that's the Islamic version of a priest, to give you an idea, to read from the Quran. So he goes up to my room to read, and he says immediately he is cold and doesn't like my room at all. He suggested I no longer sleep there for the duration of our living. So me and my sister slept on our parents' bedroom floor for the rest of our time there, as my dad decided we were moving pretty soon. However, things got real. We were supposed to move out next month, as he still needed to find a house. The last morning, I woke up in my room. The 3 of them were annoying me, so I slept in my room. I had the most swollen bruise on my left wrist. It was black and purple. It didn't hurt at all, though. So we went to the clinic, and the doctors looked confused as fuck. They had claimed someone had abused me. So my dad, taking this as a very, very red flag, made us move out the following few days and stayed in a hotel until we found a new house. The aftermath. My dad was curious as to how on earth this happened. The owners of the street, don't know how else to say it, had told us that every other person that had moved out of this street had the same problem, specifically with the upstairs right bedroom, my room. I just thought I'd share this with you guys. If anyone had any thoughts on what this was, no one, friends included, believes me, and they think I made it up for attention. So I'd like some honest thoughts, and if anyone could please shed some answers. We don't have answers for why the creepy things that happen actually happen. All we can do as passengers on this ride of life is sit back and hope that we make it through another dark night. Thank you for listening.